Cowboys radio analyst Babe Laufenberg with us. Camp coming up. Babe preparing for his 26th year as the full-time color commentator. Wow. You getting better at this each and every year? You learn something new every day type thing? Can you believe it's been this long?
I can't believe it.
Can I ask you? Yeah,
well, and of those 25 previous years, my most memorable was the one I got to spend with you in the booth.
Yeah,
because Mike Doocy did it for a year with me.
Yeah, that was the shortest stint in the history of Cowboys radio, but it was a lot of fun.
It was great. I still love it. I love camp. I love football. I don't know how you do the job if you didn't, but I don't even consider it a job. I really don't. And working with Brad and Christy on the radio broadcast and all the people that I probably can't mention, our statistician, Bob Thomas, our producer, Danny Miles, Ted Nichols-Payne, just a great group of people.
Yeah, great team and an outstanding broadcast. Cowboys not so outstanding last year at 9-7. What's your biggest concern from a Cowboys standpoint entering this camp?
My biggest concern is one that probably doesn't concern a lot of people, but I'm sure it concerns the head coach if he held his feet to the fire, and that is, where is the juice going to come from in practice? Because remember, Jason Witten supplied it in practice at training camp. Des Bryant supplied it. Orlando Scandrick supplied it. They got everybody going. And I don't know who that guy is. Sean Lee's obviously there, but it's a big change for him. And I always remember, Deuce, when Jason Garrett would give those veteran players the day off. Des took the day off, Witten took the day off, Scandrick took the day off. There was a noticeable drop in the intensity of the practice. I mean, noticeable. And those guys aren't going to be there next year. They're not going to be there this year. Not going to be there in a week. So
can the quarterback, not that he's not kind of a fiery guy anyway, but typically does that come from someone other than the quarterback, or can Dak Prescott change in a way that he provides more of that?
You know, it can and it will, and obviously there's a void there. So, you know, typically when there's a void or a vacuum, somebody or something comes in to fill that void. And I think Dak will be more assertive. He's in his third year. I always go back to this, too. So I remember when Troy Aikman was a rookie, right, and I'm still playing. Tom Rafferty was the center when he started out. Troy's a rookie. Even though he's the #1 pick and all the other stuff, he said, I mean, Tom Rafferty had been to and won Super Bowls with those powerful Cowboys teams. And he's like, I'm going to tell this 14-year veteran what to do. So Dak is at that point now. He is getting into that veteran leadership role, and I think he will be more assertive and take more control of the team. Not that he hasn't, but all of a sudden there aren't those other guys to do it, so somebody's going to step in. I think it will be Dak.
You've referenced the absence of Des and Witten from a leadership standpoint. How big of a concern is it from a resource standpoint when you're Dak? You've got all sorts of new receivers you're going to try to rely on. You have tight ends who among them collectively have 9 career receptions, I think. Is there enough firepower here in the passing game?
Well, you hope there is, and I'll say this. I'll never forget, we were kind of wrapping up that Philadelphia game last year, the final game of the season. Brad Sham and I on the radio, and second half, you know, what was it, 6-0 game at the end of it, and the game didn't mean anything. So you start talking about next year, and, well, they have to try to re-sign Anthony Hitchens, and this guy's a free agent. Never in my wildest dreams did it ever occur to me to turn to Brad and say, well, it'll be interesting to see how they do without Jason Witten and Des Bryant next year. Because he would look to me like, what are you, crazy? But that's where they are. So not only do they bring what I talked about to practice, but you got a Hall of Fame tight end gone. You've got, no matter how you slice it, he was their best receiver. He would have been their best receiver this year. He's gone. So there's some holes to fill there. The other part of that receiver situation, Deuce, I think gets overlooked. People say Cole Beasley had a bad year last year. He didn't have a bad year. It's just teams allocated resources to stop him. They left Dez one-on-one on the outside and said, you know, we're going to make you throw the ball outside to beat us. They doubled up on Cole Beasley. If they're able to do that again this year, Cole Beasley's going to have another quote-unquote bad year.
Defensively, Randy Gregory will be a headliner coming in, for better or worse. He's been reinstated. A special talent, we think anyway. We haven't seen enough of him in the NFL to really know. Do you think he's worth the trouble, all things considered?
Well, a couple of things on Randy Gregory. Obviously, you pull for the person. I think anybody's going to pull for somebody to make a comeback in their life. When you look at Randy Gregory, when I look at Randy Gregory, I view him as a rookie free agent, and if you get anything out of him, it's a bonus. Now, they got something out of Tony Romo, right? As a rookie free agent. They got a little something out of Miles Austin, got a little something out of Cole Beasley. But if anybody sits there and this guy slips up and they say, oh, well, gosh, we're really counting on Randy Gregory, I'd say, really? Why would you do that? And I've always said the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And we've seen what that past behavior looks like. Again, pulling for Randy Gregory, but I'm not counting on anything.
As we wrap up this segment, quick word on the NFC East, where the Super Bowl champs from Philly won it with a backup quarterback. Washington has a new quarterback. Giants have a new running back they think is a real game changer.
Yeah.
Eagles still obviously the favorite in the NFC East, or we're going to overthink this and say they're not?
I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to say they're the favorite. And that being said, I'm going to go with history here. No team in the NFC East has won 2 years in a row since the Eagles in 2004. They won the division in 2001, 2, 3, and 4. Nobody's repeated as a champion since. So history tells you it's going to be somebody new, but I have no idea who. And I think you clearly have to install the Eagles as the favorite going into the season.
Much more with Babe Laufenberg coming up. We'll discuss some NFL rules changes and more. That's ahead. Back with Babe Laufenberg now. Mike Pereira talking about some rules changes coming up this season. First, you're going to try to one-up Ed and me with an officiating acquaintance of your own and the accompanying photo. What's the story with this?
I just hate that Ed Hockley retired this past year, so we will not see this man refereeing NFL football games this year. You might as well have canceled Christmas for me, because that's how much Ed meant to me. And I know I meant a lot to Ed as well. But actually, 4 referees retired this year. That's going to be a big change this year for the NFL and the officiating. And you got 4 new referees. It's not an easy job. I really do think they do a great job, the whole officiating crew of the NFL. I know a lot of people would take exception with that. But losing 4 referees is not going to be easy. And when you're losing Ed Hockley, to me, he deserves to be the 5th head on Mount Rushmore.
All right. Rules changes going into effect this year, an updated catch rule, helmet-to-helmet contact penalties, new rules for kickoffs. Which of those are most significant, or is it something I've forgotten to mention?
No, I just think there's always an overreaction. The rules come out and everybody says, well, how are we going to do this? Let's go back to this one, Deuce. Remember when the horse collar came out?
Of course.
And players said, oh, how we expected to tackle, do you really hear about the horse collar rule much anymore? You don't.
No.
It gets called probably a half dozen times a year. So I think a lot of that is much ado about nothing. Everybody's complaining helmet-to-helmet contact. You're not going to see a lot of that. And as Mike Pereira said, you're not going to see a single ejection on the helmet-to-helmet stuff, interior linemen. That said, I do agree with Mark Murphy, the Green Bay Packers president. He said, we're not going to have a kickoff in 5 to 10 years. The kickoff is going to go away. And it's just such a dangerous play. It's an exciting play, but more injuries are caused on kickoffs than on, by far, any other aspect of the game.
Pereira mentioned he would like to see the NFL pass interference rule be like college, 15-yard penalty and not spot of the foul. Your thoughts?
I'm laughing because I've talked to him about this. I said, Mike, when are you going to get this instituted? And I think it should be, and I've said this for many, many years, there should be 2 penalties, a gradation, if you will, of offenses. One is if I clearly tackle a guy, I've got no eye on the ball, and that becomes a spot foul, as it is now. So if it's 43 yards down the field, you give him 43 yards. If there's, how many times, Deuce, have we looked at it and you say, boy, is this going to be offensive or defensive? I didn't see a shove. Did you see a shove? That should be like the college rule. Just make it a 15-yard penalty and a first down. But it's just too penal. You don't see 40, 50-yard plays in a game. You just don't have them. But all of a sudden, you get one on a penalty. So I'd love to see them change it. Now, the other part of that is people will say, well, you can't have 2 penalties for the same offense. Well, yes, you can. We have a roughing the punter, right? We have a roughing the kicker, and we have a running into.
Yeah,
the
right.
one is 5 yards, not an automatic first down. The other is 15, an automatic. We had it with the face mask rule, right? We used to have grabbing and grasping. So one was 5, one was 15. Now they've done away with that aspect of it, but you can do separate infractions.
Let's close with Babe Laufenberg now. Last month we were honored to be able to share the story of your son Luke and the fact that he was cancer-free after his leukemia battle. Give us an update on the young man. How's he doing?
Doing great. Hair's coming back, body's coming back. Obviously we did the interview with you. You came out to the house. He enjoyed it very much. Matter of fact, he said, tell Mr. Doocy I said hello. And then he also said, Dad, can you, I have it underneath here. He said, can you give him this invoice? And I said, well, I mean, he thought it was like a paying gig, and he said, I know how much money Doocy makes. I think I should get a little bit of it. And I said, no. I said, Luke, let's learn a little Latin here. Pro bono, literal translation, for free. It's the way Doocy does things. But he's doing great.
I'm glad to hear that, and it was great talking with him, and it's always great talking with Babe Laufenberg. We'll see you at training camp.
Yes, sir.
I'll be the one working. Thanks, man.